Hello, good morning, my friends. This is maybe my first time ever going live in the morning. This is nice sunlight. It's really nice. Well, today I'm going live for a Q&A with Caitlin from Grass-Fed Girl. Yes. So I'm really excited to see Caitlin and talk with her and answer your guys' questions. I'm going to invite her on really quickly here, okay? Hello, everybody. You're all not at work. Hey, Caitlin.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. Look at you. You're just glowing.
Well, it's light. We have a storm here today. So
What part of the country do you live in?
in Nashville.
Okay. I'm in Kansas. I think maybe it's gonna snow, but it seems okay right now. So this is our first time meeting.
Nice to meet
You
you.
too. For those of you who
Delighted.
don't know, go ahead.
Delighted.
Yes, delighted to meet you as well. So Caitlin, I would love if you don't mind just taking a minute to kind of share why you became carnivore and kind of what that looks like for you, just for any of my followers who may not be familiar with you yet.
Yeah, great. So I grew up with the standard American diet. I'm from the South, so there's always, lots of Southern cooking and that kind of stuff. My parents were both battling the bulge, so they took me to Watchers when I was 6 years old with them. It was like a family thing. We all went. And, I got started with the indoctrination dieting very young. And I was always cutting out fat, cutting out calories. Even in high school, I experimented with fasting, but we would just, we didn't call it that. But
Yeah.
then, lots of Diet Coke and all that kind of stuff. And then when I was in college, I got really tired of dieting and I went to just eating whatever. And I gained 140 pounds. That was really just hard because everything hurt. My whole body hurt and I was very tired all the time. And I was only 22. So I was like, this just isn't right, So I decided to go back to Weight Watchers on my own as an adult, and I lost 90 pounds again with a low-fat diet. I thought, oh, I found the answer. This is it. I mean, I don't know why everybody doesn't do this, but, when you're young, the weight comes off pretty easy. And also, like, I had nothing else to do. It was my whole life. I just counted calories, counted points, fat grams, it was just so then I thought everything was great. I actually became a personal trainer because I had had this big transformation and I was like, I want to share this with everyone. I want to tell everyone about this low fat diet and calorie counting and everything. So I was a personal trainer for 7 years and I was doing half marathons and I was eating low fat and I was still experimenting with different diets. Like I did the diet where you eat 5 times a day and, you carry your cooler around and all that. And that was a little better because my blood sugar, at least, I had a really big problem with being hangry. So I would have constantly just carried a granola bar in my purse. And I was always like freaking out if like, you get to a restaurant and they're like, oh, it's a 30-minute wait. And I was like, oh, I can't wait. Like I need, something. And so I had a lot of problems with my blood sugar. I was really kind of mental about it. And even when I first met my husband on our first date, he almost like told me like, I don't want to see you again because I had like a blood sugar meltdown, I was like, when are we going to eat again? When are we going to have lunch or whatever? He's like, what's your problem? And so, yeah, it can really affect your life if you're not having that blood sugar stability. And so thankfully I have been married now 17 years to the same person, but he got to know me, so it was okay. And then after college, so I lost the weight, I became a personal trainer, shared with on. I was doing running and doing I was doing heavy, like kind of HIIT workouts and just resistance training and lots of cardio. And I thought everything was going great. I was pretty thin. I was like, I'm tall, I'm 5'8", but I was like 150 pounds, really low for me. And I was just like on top of the moon. I was like, this is it. It's just great. I didn't see like the issues really. It was an obsession, but I didn't know, like, I thought, right? So then all of a sudden things started just to change. Like I couldn't recover. Like I started like getting this elbow pain, and I did like a 10-pound, curl, and it took like 2 weeks for my elbow to stop hurting. And like I was only about 30 years old, and I was like, this is weird, why is that? And then all of a sudden I couldn't stand up during my training sessions. I would sit or sit against the wall. Like I didn't have the energy to stand up for an hour, and it was like, this isn't right, and I was obsessed with sleeping. Like anytime I didn't have a client, I would just come home and sleep. Like, and I sleep all night. I had a whole pot of coffee up in the morning. And then it was just like I was having extreme energy issues. And my husband was noticing, like, what's wrong with you? You're just sleeping. Even 7 o'clock at night, I would just go to bed and not watch TV or anything. And then I just was starting to see like things wrong with me. And then my digestion started going wacko, and I couldn't digest anything. And I was having severe constipation. It was just like crazy because I never really had health problems. As a child, I had a lot of ear infections, and like I had struggled with UTI, but not really anything that you would say, oh, nothing's wrong with me, And then all of a sudden, all this was happening. I was having the joint pain, the extreme fatigue, and the constipation all of a sudden. And I was advised I had started nutrition school. So it was funny because I started nutrition school and I thought, oh, I'm going to figure all this out. And so I was the sickest I ever was when I started going to nutrition school. And that was I lived in California at this time. So I lived in California 10 years. And I went to nutrition school there. And it was like, I was nutrition, but I was like as sick as could possibly be. But the first year of the nutrition school was very plant-based, very planted towards vegetarianism. And so I was like, what I'm doing. So it was kind of reinforcing. I was doing kind of a pescatarian because that was the thing. Everybody was like, save the animals and all that. And I was eating lots of tofu. I was just like mainlining tofu. I was very creative. I was like, what can I make out of tofu? I was like making like pudding. I was just like, this is great. It's like low carb and it's low calorie and it's like fat free. It's like, this is a miracle food, right? And it's cheap. Like then, so I was like basically flat out sleeping all the time. And I just was like, I have to find something's wrong with me. And I actually met a girl that was a naturopathic doctor, and she had an office nearby my personal training place. And she was like, well, let me just test your thyroid. And I was like, sure, whatever, please help me something. And I had really high antibodies to my thyroid. I had TPO antibodies. I was lucky that I got tested by her because, most doctors wouldn't do that. And in California, luckily, naturopathic doctors can thyroid, desiccated thyroid hormone, which is a prescription, and that is not the case in most places. So right away, with talking to her, within a week, I was on thyroid medicine, and like it was like the sky opened up. It was amazing. Like I started to feel so much better. I could start to not sleep all the time, and at this time, like about that time, I started getting into Weston Price, and I met another girl who was paleo, and she was diagnosed with both. She was very well known in the paleo space. And so I started doing paleo. I was like, well, let's try it. But, you know, I was still eating like tons of nut butters, and, you know, I was just drowning myself in vegetables because I still thought, oh, well, you know, the more vegetables, the better. And I was eating bone broth and stuff, but I was eating like so many vegetables that it was like crazy, because I was still like trying to lose weight and suddenly gained like all this weight, 20 pounds, like overnight, basically. And so I was trying to lose weight. And so I thought, well, if the more vegetables, like, you know, the bulk eating kind of idea, where you put all these vegetables, and then so I thought, oh, more vegetables, the better. So I was getting better. I was getting a little bit better and better, you know, slowly over, you know, 8 or 9 years. But the constipation never went away. And I just like, it's just whack. I'm better. My energy's better, and my blood sugar was better. You know, everything was really better, but I was still hungry a lot, because I was, you know, then the whole keto thing was starting, and it was like, lower your protein, you know, you're going to be in gluconeogenesis, don't eat a lot of protein. And so I was like eating, you know, this tiny little bit, and I'm like, I'm starving, like, again, you know. But then, so I had a friend named Vivica, she's the Nourished Caveman, like, I think you should try carnivore because, you know, your constipation feels bad. And I was like, well, I want to do that, you know. I was like, that sucks, because I love, you know, treats and chocolate, and I just was like, that's just, and I actually love vegetables. I love making, like, my favorite is like to make a soup with bone broth and broccoli or cauliflower and like a bunch of butter, and, you know, just eat that. Like, I love that, you know. And then my 4 ounces of meat, you know, on this. And then so she said, well, just try it for 30 days. And it took me about like 3 months of her saying this, because I was like waiting till I was home, like, for a full days, like, without going anywhere, you know, because you really need to be, like, especially if you didn't know what you're doing, you know. So I did it for 30 days finally, and like the digestion didn't change like right away. So so I want people to know that, like, it took a while for my digestion, even after several months. Hi, Dr. Barry. It took a couple months for my digestion to change, but the first month was the bloating. Like, within 4 hours of not eating vegetables, the bloating was gone, and it was just like amazing. I bloated for, you know, 10 years. Like, I didn't know that it was possible not to be bloated. And that was just incredible. And then I started, like, dropping like the little breadcrumbs, like, okay, maybe this is help me, you know. And then I kept going. I actually kept going, and at the end of 30 days, I was like, I feel so good, because I had lost 10 pounds, and I was like, this is amazing. So I just want to keep going. And then, you know, I just kept going for 4 years. So it's October 2018 was when I started, and it's been 4 years. And you know, I think I was doing really good, and everything was going really well. And then I got pregnant, and, you know, that was a miracle, and because people with Hashimoto's, you know, can have a hard time getting pregnant. And you know, but I feel like all those years of eating well, I mean, even though I was eating vegetables and stuff, I was still eating kind of an ancestral diet. It's better than most people. You know, all that helped, and eating a lot of good fat, and, you know, avoiding seed oil. So I got pregnant. Now I have a 2-year-old baby, and he is amazing. He's just like, he loves to eat meat, and, you know, he loves eggs. His favorite meal is eggs, any kind of eggs. He's just like sitting there, like, he doesn't, if you give him a piece of bread, he's like, what is this? Like, I don't, just like, he'll throw it down, or he'll take like one bite and he'll just like throw it away. He's like, what, this doesn't taste right, you know. So he's just the cutest thing. So, you know, I feel like kind of like, but my body's taking a long time to get, so I had a C-section, so I kind of feel like I'm back in the healing phase all over again. Like, I kind of start back from zero. So, because I'm still breastfeeding, so I'm 26 months breastfeeding, and, you know, I read something the other day, it said it takes the same energy to breastfeed as it does to walk 7 miles. So I was like, okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. I'm tired.
Yeah.
He still like wakes up in the night, and we kind of do the co-sleeping thing, which, a lot of people don't do. And, so I'm just kind of soaking up all the baby cuddles and everything. I'm just not doing like the sleep training and like, get away from me, I want my sleep. So it's just kind of like, I feel like I'm, back to square one, kind of healing again. So that's kind of my story.
Great. I feel like I relate to so much of what you said, but the main thing I want to highlight is about the eating all the vegetables and still being constipated. People think being a carnivore makes you constipated, but I used to go 10 plus days without pooping, eating tons of fiber. And it was like the more vegetables and the more fiber I ate, the less I pooped. So that is so much better on a carnivore diet for me. And I've heard that same story from so many people. So I'm glad to hear you say that.
And I think when you're constipated, you try all the things. Like you try the smooth move, the chia seeds and the flax seeds and psyllium husks. And, it just gets worse and worse. And then, but enough works. I mean, magnesium is really the only thing that really helps me with that. And but the carnivore, after 3 or 4 or 5 months, it started to get better. And now I'm kind of came back after, but I just, as long as I get my magnesium and kind of like remember to take it all the time, then it's still out, but I don't have the bloating and all that. So I know it's a lot better.
Great. So just for you guys watching, this is meant to be a Q&A. So if you guys have questions, there's a little bubble in the bottom right of your screen with a question mark in it. Put any questions that you have in there. We also have some questions that people asked ahead of time. If you're okay with it, Caitlin, I'll just jump right into those. So the first one is, I'll answer this one too, but did you ever try vegan to heal your condition? So for those of you who may not know me, I suffered with terrible psoriasis from tip to toe. And yes, I did try plant-based vegan only for 30 days, but for those 30 days, I had no improvement in my skin. And I didn't cheat at all, but I could not stop thinking about the other foods that I wanted to eat. It was not a lifestyle for me, but I gave it the old college try.
I never was fully vegan. It wasn't as big back then when I was doing that, because that was around 2009 or 10 when I was really experimenting. So I was a vegetarian for a while, and but I think I later on included fish and stuff. So I never was fully vegan, but I definitely ate enough tofu for 10 vegans.
Yeah. There's a question in the comments for you. Does carnivore mixed with weightlifting heal thyroid and adrenals?
I mean, people always talk about adrenals and thyroid. And people in the carnivore are especially resistant to taking medication. And the thing is, that's what it sounds like. Like they're saying, like you just want to heal with diet or just want to heal with exercise or both. And it's like, I want that too. Everybody wants that. But thyroid is something that your body can't make on its own. And when you have an autoimmune disease, which is what most people have when they have Hashimoto's, their thyroid gets damaged. And then the part that's damaged can no longer make enough thyroid hormone. So thyroid hormone is something that's involved in almost every bodily process. So it's like it's like water. You have to have it. So you can sit there and say, well, I don't have education, blah, 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 blah. But some people just have to have it because your body's just never going to enough. So, and especially how long have you been sick, and how long is your thyroid been out, and how bad was it, and how bad were antibodies, and this very individual. So if you're just newly sick, maybe you can try it, but you want to always, we're not doctors, you're a doctor of physical therapy. Is that right?
That's
So
true, but I have no expertise when it
right.
comes to thyroid and adrenals.
Yeah, it's a different thing. And so, you know, we can say don't go to your doctor. Like, definitely work with your doctor. So, yes, Perry's wife lives here. Her. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's very individual. You can. I actually am in remission. I dropped my antibodies down to below 30, which is considered remission, which is the same as Dr. Barry's wife. She's in remission of thyroid, but my body doesn't make a thyroid hormone anymore to support all my body processes, you know, and maybe later on when I'm not breastfeeding anymore, I'll try again to go off a thyroid hormone. But I think the biggest thing for me when I was healing, besides diet, which of course was a huge piece of it, you know, taking out seed oils, taking out sugar, reducing stress, but the biggest thing was sleep. I slept and I slept, and I had to actually change my job. I quit personal training because I was so exhausted, and I couldn't get up at 5 o'clock in the morning anymore and go down there and train people. I had to change the whole schedule, and I started working from home, and you know, then I let myself sleep in till like just whenever I woke up, and the sleep was so, I think, you know, up there in the top 2 or 3 things I did. I just let myself sleep until I naturally woke up without a alarm clock. So I'd say that's one of the most important things you can do for a period of time. You know, you don't have to do it forever, but you can do it, you know, for a healing phase. And also I stopped working out. I stopped working out for like maybe 3 months. I started walking around my neighborhood, just kind of looking around, and it just to have, because if you're go, stress, no sleep, that's when you like hit the wall. And so you have to change all that if you want to heal. So yeah, I mean, I'm struggling really with sleep. You know, I feel it's been a big struggle for the last 2 years. So yeah, and you got to learn to have boundaries and say no. You got to like learn to change, because a lot of it's people pleasing. You're just like, sure, I do that. And even if at work, like, I can pick up a shift or whatever, you say, no, I gotta sleep. I've got to stay home today. You know, you got to have a more like boring life for a little while to kind of heal. Is it's a signal. You're sending the signal to your brain, to your body all the time, like, you know, a signal of the fight or flight, and the you know, it's a kind of a syndrome.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I think the topic of being on medication for an autoimmune condition is an important one to not just brush by. It sounds like you're saying, you know, if you have an organ system that is no longer functioning because of the damage that was done to it, you might need medication for that, maybe forever. And of course, we're not prescribing it. Like, you need to work with your doctor on that. And I think sometimes people, when they start a carnivore diet, they're like, well, I need to go off on my medication so I can see if this diet's helping. In my experience, that was not what I was comfortable doing either. I was on an immunosuppressant for years for my psoriasis, and I had so many issues with it. It created a lot of health problems, and then I still had psoriasis from hell, even on the immunosuppressant. But for my first long bit of time on this diet, I was still on it because I just felt scared to go back to where I was. I felt scared to, you know, just be in the stress state where it's like all or nothing with the diet. And if it doesn't work, then I'm just screwed, you know? So I took my time, and I just weaned off my medication like 4 months ago. So, you know, I waited until I felt like I was in a place where I could feel good about it and not stressed about it, because stress is not good for an autoimmune condition either. And so I just want people to feel comfortable with whatever their best decision is, whether that's don't be on medications, don't ever start any, or if it's you're already on some, stay on them, you know, like, just think about what feels best for you, and don't feel like you're failing because you need some help.
And the thing is, you can always drop it down. Like, I was on 125 and now I'm on 90. So, you know, it's gone down since I've been carnivore, and, you know, maybe it'll continue to go down, but you do need to get it checked. I mean, thyroid medication, thyroid is different from, you know, every autoimmune disease is like a little different. So, you know, I'd say every 6 months, every 3 to 6 months, if you're really in like a thyroid storm, and see, you know, you don't have to cut everything cold turkey. You can just check every 3 months and what's going on. You know, that's the only way to know.
Yeah, someone asked what symptoms might lead someone to get rechecked. Now, would you say it's related to symptoms, or is it just more timing and doing it with some regularity?
Just time. You have to recheck all the time, because especially if you're on medication, they have to make sure it's still working right. Or, you know, sometimes you need to switch. Some people are allergic to the fillers in the medication. There's a lot of different kinds. There's also there's been a lot of recalls and a lot of crazy stuff with our medication. So, and there's also synthetic versus just the natural desiccated thyroid. So most thyroid patients say they feel better on the natural desiccated thyroid, which is a combination of T3, T4, and it is made from animals, you know, everyone in carnivore's favorite thing. So that is what most people feel better on, that rather than synthetic. But again, you have to experiment, and some people's doctors will absolutely not give them that, even though Armour is it's the oldest thyroid medication. It's been around 100 years, but doctors today, they just want to give you the synthetic, even though Armour is like the OG of medications. They just want to give you the Synthroid. So, you know, it's just what you can get. You know, it depends on your state, and some people in different countries can't even get that at all. So, you know, we're lucky in some ways that we can test ourselves. You know, some people like in Canada, they can't do anything like at all. So, for example.
Wow, I did not know any of that. Here's another question. I feel like I know what your answer is going to be because I've heard you say it, but the question is dairy okay?
Well, you know, again, everybody is individual. Like, dairy is traditional food. You know, there was the Maasai tribe in Africa drinking raw milk and blood and everything from the animal, and it's great, you know, and people in Switzerland making cheese and all this, like in Weston A. Price's books. I mean, so it's a traditional food. It's a wonderful food. I love it for sure. And it's very individual. Some people can tolerate higher fat dairy than other people. Like, you know, most people will not tolerate skim milk, for example, but they can eat heavy cream. And also there's differences in the amount of lactose in each type of dairy. So sometimes it's the lactose, and sometimes it's the casein. And so you have to experiment. Like, I do better if I do want to have dairy, I do better with goat milk, which is an A2 animal, and you know, milk in general is better for digestion. So you just have to try it. You know, I don't think it's a never no. You know, some autoimmune experts and stuff will say never dairy, no, but I don't think so. I think it's a very individual. You just have to try it. You have to try it without, and then you have to add it back in slowly. Look for symptoms. Like, I'm sure, you know, you skin people are so into, you know, watching for little signs that things are, you know, breaking out. My son, actually, when he was first starting to eat food at 6 months, I mean, he was breastfed the whole time still, but when I would give him milk, like cheese or any kind of dairy, he would get a red, big blotchy marks on his back, and I guess that's eczema. And then I found a farmer here that did A2 raw milk, and I gave him that, and nothing. So he still drinks that to this day, and he loves it. And you know, it goes bad after weeks, so you have to get more. So you know that, and I mean, hopefully, like, his dad can drink a lot of dairy and stuff, and hopefully, you know, he doesn't have any problems with. There absolutely no skin things. So I was like, this is great, you know, because it took a little pressure off mom for the milk.
Yeah, for sure. I, like you, have heard lots of times, if you have an autoimmune condition, you can almost certainly assume that dairy is not good for you. but I was getting away with it almost the whole time I was a carnivore. I was having heavy cream and cheese and, well, those are the main things because that's what I like, with no real problem. So that's what I was telling people. No, I do fine with dairy. Well, when I weaned off my immunosuppressant, I did start to notice a difference with dairy. Specifically, like you said, you skin people. I'm like super diligent about my skin and looking and feeling. And I mean, I haven't had any recurrence of my psoriasis, but when I have dairy, my skin does start to get pretty itchy. And that just concerns me of what I'm starting, what cascade of things I'm starting. So I've currently cut out dairy. I'm doing the Lion Diet for the month of January, and I'm going to slowly add some things back in. Like, I really hope to be able to tolerate butter. But when it comes to heavy cream and cheese, I'm pretty confident the answer is going to be no to that when I try to add it back in. And also, I'm pretty addicted to those things. I can recognize that as a former binge eater. And I wasn't binging on dairy, but I mean, I was getting more of those feelings of like, I just need some cheese right now, you know, which I don't really get with a ribeye. So it's sort of touchy for me from two areas.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a large reaction, which is hard because I don't have a big reaction except weight gain. So it's like I don't have a rash or anything. I mean, I'll get bloated a little bit, but the big reaction is just immediate weight gain. And so it's hard because you want it to taste so good. And especially over Christmas, I had too much. But, you know, now about 5 days ago, I started no dairy carnivore because it was just getting, you know, out of hand. And, you know, even if you're eating, you know, low carb or whatever, it's just too hard, you know, for me to regulate. And I think it's almost like the same thing with the addiction, like you get kind of a high from it. Maybe it's the casein, I don't know. And you're just like, I want more. And it's very hard for me to stop, you know?
Yeah, it's hard. Another question that was asked ahead of time is, how do you order at restaurants? I'll start with that one if you don't mind, because this is something I'm very passionate about. I went on a trip a month all of last year, and I go out. Being social is very important to me, and so you can do that as a carnivore. So a couple tips I have are, if you go to a fancier place where they have like maybe a salad menu and then there's an a la carte section where you can add salmon or shrimp or chicken or steak to your salad. Every place I've been that has that, I've asked, can I just order off this a la carte menu and I'll just get like a salmon and shrimp and steak? And they always do it. It's weird and you feel a little awkward asking, but they do it. And if it's fast food, burger patties typically is what I would choose. I mean, I don't make a habit of doing this every day or even every week, but in a pinch, that is fine. And then for kind of mid-level restaurants like an Applebee's or whatever, something like that, steak or burger patties or wings if they're not cooked in oils. Those are kind of my go-tos. Breakfast is usually, I get pretty nervous about scrambled eggs because I think oftentimes they add things like grains, honestly, like parts of the waffles or whatever, pancake mix to the eggs, or they're cooking it in oils and stuff. So I usually get boiled or poached eggs, so I know there's nothing in it I don't want. Or if I'm getting scrambled, I'll ask for cooked in butter. And usually the answer is, well, we have like a margarine blend or something like that, so I don't get that. And then often I'll get bacon. I usually don't get sausage at a restaurant because I think it typically would have some kind of sugar or something in it. But that's what I do. Do you have any other tips?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the same what I do. I mean, when my baby sleeps a lot in the car, so I'll end up at the drive-through, you know, a lot. Not every day, but like at least once or twice a month, I'm at the burger drive-through. We'll go crazy if I post it, like, you know, but I'm like, the burgers, they're 100% beef. So I really think they would get sued if they put something else in them because people would have an allergic reaction. I don't know, maybe I'm just naive, but when it says 100% beef and that's the only ingredient and salt or pepper, then I'm like, you know, that's just the same as the beef you'd buy at the grocery store. So why the big deal? You know?
Yeah.
Of course, I used to eat only grass fed when I was I did paleo for 9 years. Like I would only eat grass-fed beef. And, since I went carnivore, I kind of away from that because I saw so much healing just by, and I was craving the fat so bad. And that's not really included on a lot of grass-fed beef, So I was like, well, I'm just going to eat regular steaks and stuff. And also it's so expensive. So, or even a regular steak is expensive. Like, well, I just want to eat what I can get. And so I just don't do that anymore. I just don't, I think, one of the healing thing is, and I'm not as sensitive as some people, like worrying about every little thing was kind of stressing me out. So like, if I have a little bit of seed oil on the, from the grill or whatever, I'm like, I don't care, because I don't eat any seed oil at home. I don't eat any seed oil like in the rest of my life. So I'm just like, screw it. When I'm eating out, I'm just kind of, I'm doing the best I can. I can't go back there, wipe down the grill or whatever, So, but yeah, if you are more sensitive, and I'm not celiac as far as I know, so I'm just like, I'm just doing the best I can. And then that's kind of helped me to just be like, whatever. And I mean, I try to, like, when you eat jerky or something like that, like I try to get, I'm not like, people are like, oh, there's preservatives or something. Yeah, but I don't eat jerky every day. I eat jerky like once a month, so I'm just like, whatever, and 99% of my food is just beef or eggs or something, So I'm just like, I'm just not going to, because I've been doing this for so long. I've been worrying about that for so long that I'm kind of burnt on worrying so much about every little thing. I didn't start this yet. I've been doing this kind of stuff since, forever. So I just have to have a kind of, for my mental health, I have to have kind of just like, unless my health gets worse or something, which, hasn't happened. So.
Yeah, I completely agree with that mindset. First of all, back to burger patties. Kelly Hogan, I'm sure you all know her. She basically ate nothing but McDonald's burger patties for like 10 years, and she is thriving. So, I mean, I don't eat them that much. They're not as cheap as they used to be. But if that's all you can do, then do it. It's still way better than eating all the crap that you probably were eating before. But from this perspective of like, every little thing has to be perfect, well, it's impossible. I actually just got a message this morning about the dangers of cooking meat on a grill because something with the charring, and that can cause cancer. And then there was something else with the PUFAs. And I mean, there's always something. I get messages all the time about cooking on nonstick surfaces. And then there's messages about using tinfoil. And then of course, like the water that you use, it's like, just choose the thing that you're going to do to make your life better. And for me, that's a carnivore diet. And the other little things, like even going more natural with skincare and stuff, I'm getting there, but it's a slow progression, and you don't have to do everything because, first of all, there is no set of everything that's just going to be perfect. Someone's going to have a problem with it. So it's like, don't stress yourself out. Do what you can, do your best, and let that be it. That's how I feel about it.
A lot of money to replace everything. So, I mean, so I've been doing this forever. So, like, I have really good cookware, and I use carbon steel pans and stainless steel pans, and, I got the lowest PFA air fryer, because I had just heard about it for a while, and mine has a stainless steel basket, so because I've been doing this for so long that I know what people are going to say, and they're going to yell at me. So, I mean, that's not the reason. I want to do it for myself, but, and if I ever use aluminum foil or even parchment has BPA, like you're screwed no matter what you do. Even if you touch a paper towel to your food, it's going to have some kind of dioxin or something in it, I mean, we live in a really toxic world. Like, it's very difficult. Our houses are filled with mold. I mean, if you think about every little thing, you're going to go crazy. And that's another sickness. That's a type of orthorexia. And that's not good too. If you're, some people think carnivore diet is an eating disorder, so you cannot start out like, and people always ask me, do you have to eat 100% grass fed? I'm like, I don't know where they get this idea. I mean, is it Paul Saladino? I don't know what, but I mean, first of all, it's financially prohibitive for people, even you can buy a cow, which I have done many times. I have video where me and my husband are cutting up a cow. Like, I have done that, you know, but you can't be perfect, or because you'll just go crazy. So
Absolutely. Then you'll have all the health problems from all the stress.
yeah.
Now, I have to ask you about being pregnant on a carnivore diet. So many people ask me about that, and I have not been pregnant, so I can't say. How was it for you? Were you fully carnivore? Was everything good with the baby? Were doctors concerned? Tell me all the things.
Yeah, I was carnivore for about 1.5 years before I got pregnant, and I really didn't share too much. I have YouTube videos about a lot of this stuff. If you're more interested, you can go to my YouTube, and it's just my name, Caitlin Weeks, on YouTube. And yeah, I didn't share too much because I knew that I was getting bases covered. I took a folate just in case, not, you know, my baby to come out with like a cleft lip, and I was like, oh crap, I did take my folate or something. You know, they tell you folic acid, which is definitely a mistake. I would not take folic acid. You want to take folate, which is you know, more of the natural type. Folic acid is synthetic. I mean, if folic acid is dead, I guess, you know, but there is a lot of the vitamins that babies need are in eggs and steak, everything basically. I mean, it was summer, so I did eat some fruit here and there. I mean, I'm talking about after pregnant. And I had terrible sugar cravings. I mean, just terrible. So I figured the least bad thing I could eat was like some berries or cherries or watermelon or something like that. Like the least nutrients, because I was already like super into carnivore, and you know, I knew all the information. And I did eat dairy when I was pregnant because I was just like, I don't care about gaining weight, you know. I ate a lot of like goat yogurt and some raw milk, cheese and goat cheese, and so, you know, I guess I had a little bit of carbs there too, but I have a really rich, you know, traditional diet, and I didn't eat vegetables at all when I was pregnant. But when I went to the doctor, I had a midwife that she worked inside of a doctor's office. It wasn't like home. I didn't do a home birth because I was a little over the age of the safety, and I still come because my sister had a home birth and she had a lot of complications and she had to be transferred to the hospital, and so I didn't want to do that. I mean, I wanted to, but if I was 30, I would have done it, but I wasn't 30 anymore. So I was like, I'll just go to the hospital just in case. And so I had a midwife that worked inside of a doctor's office with the doctors and OBs and all that. And so I would just kind of gloss over it. I was just like, yeah, I eat a lot of protein. And I didn't go into it. And then a lot of people ask about the glucoa, like the blood sugar thingy when you take the drink. And I just asked them if I could do I take my own blood sugar at home because I have a keto mojo. And I just did it for 2 weeks, like 4 times a day. And I just wrote it down and I just showed it to them, and they were happy. And my blood sugar was really, really regulated. I mean, sometimes, you know, all day long, it never went above 100. You know, it was always between like 70 and 100 the entire day, no matter what I ate. So, they were happy with that. So I think it's just like standing up for yourself, just like any other thing. If you're a chronic illness patient, you know, you'd probably be a good pregnant lady because you can stand up for yourself and be like, I'm not doing that or whatever. So you just have to know when to say no. So I think it's just, you know, they're not the boss of you. You're the boss of your own health. And you know, you can change doctors. If you don't like the one you've got, you know, go get a different one. They're not, you know, your bosses. So yeah, I think it was really easy. I wasn't sick. I had a few, like the first people are always like, I can't eat meat on the first trimester. Well, you don't have to eat meat all the time. Like, I don't know why people get this idea. I had a meat for the first about 12 weeks, and I ate chicken and I ate eggs, I ate fish. And, you know, I didn't say, well, I have to eat red meat. I could eat hamburger if I picked it up like a Wendy's. Like if I tried to cook it, I was like turning. but if somebody else cooked it for me and just handed it to me, maybe, but making it home was like, no way. So there's a lot of other foods, you know, cheese, yogurt. There's all these things that are protein. You can do protein shakes. There's a lot of ways to get your protein without eating straight up, you know. And liver, I took liver pills. I like liver. I like liver a lot, but it's just a pain in the ass to prepare and to like get it and then eat it before it goes bad and all that. It's worse and everything. So I like liver, but I take liver pills. I take liver pills also just kind of as a backup for that kind of prenatal vitamin, which I didn't take. So I took the folate and I took the liver pills, and I figured that was pretty good, you know. And yeah, came out, he was 9 pounds. So I think he's just amazing. So he's super, super healthy.
That's awesome. Now with nursing, did you have to supplement anything besides carnivore foods to have enough milk?
No. I mean, again, I was still kind of doing like, I was still eating goat yogurt and goat cheese, especially the first couple of months, because I was just so exhausted and I wasn't really wanting to stick to, you know, super hardcore carnivore. But so no, I didn't need anything. I mean, my milk was just exploding. After 5 days, it was just like, I mean, I needed to like change my shirt every, you know, it was just crazy how much milk I had. But, you know, I took electrolytes. I think a lot of people are super dehydrated. I have a long video on breastfeeding tips on my YouTube. So people are super dehydrated, and I was already in ketosis. Like I was already fat adapted. I didn't start from zero, just like, oh, I have a sad diet yesterday. I mean, like I said, I've been doing this for, you know, 12, 13 years of eating low carb. And so my body is adapted to run off of ketones and all that. So yes, if you start doing that, you're going to have problems. I wouldn't do that. You know, if breastfeeding is important to you, don't fall off a cliff with your carbs. That's just, no, like you can slowly cut them back if you want to. I mean, I don't know why it's like after you have a baby that I think it's the weight loss. You know, people want the weight loss, but that's, you know, you can't borrow from Peter to pay Paul. It's like, you know, you got to prepare beforehand, and, you know, just if you do want to start, just go very slow. And then if you do see a drop, maybe add some berries or add some milk, yogurt, something like with a bit of carbs. But, you know, try keto first. You don't have to do this extreme change. That your body just doesn't like that, because that's a stressor. And that's not the time when you're getting no sleep and you're trying to keep another person alive to start. So what a huge shift we need in this country is preconception nutrition, you know, not like, oh, you know, I got yesterday and now I'm going to think about what to do, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, I've kept you for 50 minutes, and I know you have a 2-year-old, so I want to let you go. How about if we take this one last question, and then if you guys have anything you need to slip in at the last minute, otherwise we'll go before long. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, my kid's here, so it's fine.
Okay. So Bonnie asked, any suggestions on how to talk to our doctors about keto or carnivore and high total cholesterol and higher LDL? They freak out and want to prescribe statins. So I have just had my cholesterol checked once as a carnivore so far, and my doctor was good about it, so I didn't have to get into this, but my HDL was super high, my triglycerides were really low, and my LDL and total cholesterol were a little high, like you suggested, Bonnie. But she looked at it and said what I said. She said, your HDL looks great, your triglycerides look great, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And I didn't tell her I'm doing carnivore. I just told her I'm low carb, I'm not drinking, I'm not eating sugar. Next time I'll tell her. But I think if, in my opinion, if they are like, you need a statin, this is so bad, then I think you have a couple choices. One, get a different doctor. Two, tell them, oh, this is what I'm doing. I've changed some things. This is what my research tells me is actually healthy. So I'm not concerned about it, and I don't want to be on a statin. Or back to, you need another doctor, you know, so it's kind of whatever you're most comfortable with is what I would suggest. And maybe it's even just seeking out a doctor that is on board with this lifestyle so they're more prepared for those kind of numbers. What do you think, Caitlin?
I mean, totally agree. Like look at the whole picture, you know, look at your fasting blood sugar, look at your triglycerides, look at the HDL to LDL ratio. And then there's two types of LDL. There's like the small, dense and the you know, the puffy, fluffy one. And so, you know, that's something to bring up. And then also I would say go get a calcium artery score. A lot of people in my family have done that. I think it's like CAC test. And it's usually, I think my mom did it, it's like $50. My husband did it, it's $50, because then they'll shut them up, because they'll look and they'll see nothing, you know, and then you can be like, well, see, and even my stepmom did the same thing. She had the problem where the person was just like kept going on about it. I mean, she's kind of lower carb, but once she had that, it gives you something to, you know, hold up and be like, look, there's nothing wrong with me, so let's just drop it, okay? So definitely, it's a test you can ask for anytime, and it's really catching on now. I think it's easy to get.
Yeah, and also you mentioned the particles, so you could do particle testing too. I imagine you'd have to pay that out of pocket like you would with the CAC score, but if you want to stick with your doctor and your doctor is really worried, then these things might get them to be more on board.
And I mean, I was really lucky when I moved here. I moved here about 7 years ago, and I moved back here. I'm from Nashville, but I found a holistic doctor she's a nurse practitioner in Tennessee. Nurse practitioners can do pretty much whatever doctors can do. I don't know about Kansas, but so I found her. So she's really integrative, and then she is also my baby's doctor. So it really works out. So yeah, definitely just keep and ask around. You know, there's a lot of mom groups, Facebook groups. Ask around. You know, does somebody else have this doctor? You can always change doctors. It's the end of the world.
Mm-hmm. Somebody asked, if cooking meat is a problem, would it be okay to start eating raw if you have a good trusted source of pasture-raised beef? So I want to be clear, I don't think cooking meat is bad. Not any worse than any of the other million things I'm probably doing wrong from someone's perspective. But yeah, lots of people eat only raw. It's not for me. I'm not that hardcore, but lots of people do it. I still kind of worry about microbes and stuff, but I think that's just pre-programming in my brain from a lifetime of hearing you have to cook everything until everything is dead. Do you have any thoughts on that, and or do you eat raw?
I don't. I just haven't had any inclination. I mean, I'm a foodie. My husband is a chef, so like if when we went to Italy, you know, we ate what is the beef tartare.
Oh yeah,
so that was a fun thing, and you know, something like that. I love sushi and that kind of stuff, you know. But when I was pregnant, I really didn't care. But I don't crave that. Maybe I just don't know how to cook it. I mean, properly. Sound good to me. And also, like you said, I like to eat with my friends. I like to go, and that's not really on the menu here in the USA. So, you know, I don't see it as a sustainable lifestyle for me. And I love grilling and stuff. And I think you could just do, you know, very like steak and butter gal does the blue rare, which I don't like me. But yeah, and I think there's a lot of shades of gray in the raw thing. Like I love cured tuna, you know, but so I think, but I do think if you are going to eat raw, like you said, you need to get a local farmer. You need to do, I do think there is a problem with eating raw beef, you know, feedlot, like the processing plants and all that. I don't think that's really safe. I mean, I wouldn't do it. So
yeah, agreed. Somebody asked, can we ask questions? Yes, we just have a few more minutes, but if you have a question, the easiest way to ask that is bottom right corner. There's a little bubble with a question mark. And then let's see, someone said their total cholesterol was 138, and the doctor was still trying to give them statins. That seems really low to me. That's surprising, but
Yeah.
okay.
I felt like 150 was like kind of the goal now of the man.
Yeah. Interesting.
But mine is 210, 220 or something. And I mean, I've read that traditionally women's cholesterol is higher, and that's a really like 220. So, I mean, I think you just have to do your research so that you are prepared and not going to get bowled over when you go in there.
Exactly. Have some knowledge of what they're going to say before they say it so you can defend yourself. It looks like there's one new question in here.
It was really, I wanted to say the standards keep dropping as the statins are introduced. And, you know, so it's like when I was a kid, it used to be 200, you know, and now it's 150, you know, it's like, it's never enough for them. You know, they're going to want us to have no cholesterol and our brain's just going to pop out of our head, you know? So it's like, what's going on?
Yeah, that feels very driven by big pharma to me. And I'm not like a conspiracy theory kind of girl, but that one just, I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Perks of Skin asked, I can't eat beef. Does chicken, lamb, and fish also give the same benefit? I'll let you start with that one.
I mean, I'd say lamb is the most similar to, and I mean, I think worldwide lamb is more of a, you know, eaten more than beef if you look at the worldwide consumption. And, you know, goat is this another one that's eaten in other countries. Well, we don't eat goat really, but it's very popular in, you know, the Middle East and Africa and stuff. So, yeah, ruminants are all pretty much the same as far as their nutritional profile. So any animal that eats grass. So if you can eat lamb, then that's very similar to beef. So I'd say you would be good. And chicken is not this powerhouse of nutrition that we think it is. Beef consumption has gone down and chicken consumption has gone up, and we're all just less healthy. So, you know, I mean, I'd say chicken is a good source of protein, and, you know, but it's not this wonderful thing that we think, you know, eating a chicken every day, like a lot of people that I know eating chicken nuggets, you know, that's not what I want. But fish, of course, is wonderful. Try to always get wild fish whenever you can.
Yeah, I agree with you. Ruminant meats are definitely the most nutrient dense. So the lamb is great, and it's delicious too. I eat a lot of lamb. But I still think that if all you can eat, let's say you try lamb and you're like, oh, can't actually have this either. If all you can eat is fish, chicken, pork, those things, I still think that's generally better than the standard American diet.
Absolutely.
Okay, one more in here. What other fats can I include other than beef fats and tallow? Gosh, I wish you didn't exclude beef fats because beef fat trimmings are so good. But if you don't tolerate beef, maybe you can't tolerate the fat either. The next one that I do a lot of is butter when I'm having dairy, and then egg yolks are a pretty good source of fat. Cold water fishes like salmon and such.
Ghee, I'd say ghee is, because I can eat ghee, but I can't eat a lot of butter, but I can eat ghee. So, and a ghee is a very traditional fat in a lot of other countries too. So, but I mean, I just say eat the fat, the meat. Like lamb is a pretty fatty meat, so just, especially if you get ground lamb, you know, that's got a lot of fat in it too. And you can duck fat, you know, chicken fat.
And the skin on the chicken is very fatty too. So if you're eating that, be sure to eat the skin as well. But I was going to say bone marrow, but that's typically beef too. Okay, let's do one more question. There's one more in here and then we'll wrap up. So Arlene asked, how about LDL levels? I got flagged with a 149. I don't know off the top of my head what the benchmarks are, but that probably is bordering on high. Mine is something around that too. But what I understand from the carnivore doctors that I follow is as long as your HDL is high and your triglycerides are low, then your LDL particles are going to be perfectly good regardless of your LDL levels. So that's kind of what we mean by looking into some of this a little bit and understanding it so that when they flag you, you can defend yourself.
Yeah. And you can also just say, you can also, I mean, a really good thing to say if you're not feeling really comfortable is just say, you know, could we just table it and check it again in 6 months or a year? And, you know, because sometimes, especially if you've just started carnivore, your levels can be like very fluctuating wildly because, and also even the time of day that you checked it, what you ate before you went, and all these things come into play. So person in my family actually did this. They said, can we just check, not do anything right now, check it in a year or 6 months, and when I come back for my next physical, and then we'll decide. And that can kind of get them off your back. And then maybe you're getting healthier over that next year, and then your levels will kind of even out. And also a lot of times your thyroid is messed up when you have, if you have a really high level of cholesterol, of your cholesterol, yes, of your cholesterol, then that means your thyroid often out of whack. So it's kind of one of those signals. And so definitely get a full panel, not just the TSH.
Okay, very good advice. Also, that'll buy you some time to learn more about the cholesterol stuff and how you feel about it. One really great resource that I like is called Low Carb Down Under, and he's mostly just found on YouTube, but if you Google Low Carb Down Under cholesterol, you will have an excellent explanation for like a fifth grader that I can understand, and you'll be able to too. So I would highly recommend that. So anyway, that was a lovely chat. It was really, really nice to meet you, Caitlin. I'm so grateful for you taking the time to do this.
Well, thanks for asking me.
Thank you so much to everyone for watching. I know it's the middle of the day and many of you are at work, so I'm glad you are all able to show up. It was awesome. And if you guys have any other questions, this replay will be posted on our pages, so you can leave questions in the comments.
Yeah, we're going to be back soon. We're going to do a Zoom and a YouTube video where is going to share her story. So definitely subscribe to my YouTube so you can see her on my YouTube channel.
Yes, thank you for doing that, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
All right, have a great day. Thanks so much.
Bye. Bye.